G'day, mate. I'm FPL Roo. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another FPL video. In today's video, we're going to be looking at the most transferred players in and out and whether you should bring them in or take them out of your team. We'll also be looking at double game week 27 and what fixtures and what teams will be doubling. So we'll quickly start off with that. So it just did get announced a few weeks ago. So Brentford will double Brighton, Palace and Southampton. So Brentford have probably the best of the double game weeks. They have Everton away and Southampton away. Also, Brighton have a pretty good one too. So Leeds away and Palace at home. Palace have City away, Brighton away, which is pretty tough. And Southampton have Man United away and Brentford at home. So yeah, they're the four teams that will double. And we'll probably touch on a few of their players in the rest of the video. So stay tuned. So as I've just mentioned, Brentford will be doubling, and one of their best players is Ivan Toney. So this is why a lot of people have been bringing him in already. So over 70,000 transfers in, mainly because of that double game week in game week 27. So Toney does come in at 7.6 million, and he is just over 27% owned. He is projected to score 26 points between game week 26 and game week 29. But he does have two doubles in that time, so that is probably why it is so high. In terms of blanks, he may blank in game week 28, but we'll know more once Leicester play their FA Cup game against Blackburn. So if Leicester win that game, then the game week 28 will be a blank. If not, then that will go ahead. So as I mentioned, Toney does have that double game week in game week 27 with them two good away games. And before that, he does have Fulham at home. So if you wanted to bring him in a little bit earlier, that is a fine fixture, and it's definitely a fixture he can score in. Although he does have a double in 29, there's something to take into consideration. It is a pretty tough double. So Brighton away and Man United away. Not the best, but Toney can score against anyone, as we saw against Man City right before the World Cup. There's also another thing to take into consideration with Toney is he is 2 yellow cards away from a 2-game ban. So he's currently on 8 yellow cards. So if he does get another 2, he will receive that 2-game ban. So let's just say he gets it against Fulham, and then you kind of know he's going to miss the next 2 games. But if he does get it against Everton, then he will miss the Southampton game in the double game week. So just something to take into consideration. But yeah, other than that, if he doesn't get a yellow card against Fulham, then you're laughing really. But definitely a good player. We know he can score against everyone, and although he hasn't been on top form, say the last few weeks, he's still got a goal against Arsenal away, which proves that he can do it against anyone. So next up, we have the man at the moment, Ollie Watkins, with just over 50,000 transfers in. So he does come in at 7.2 million. So really, really good price, really affordable. And he's only 6% owned. He's expected to score just over 17 points over the next 4 game weeks. But the thing to take into consideration is he doesn't blank in game week 28 and he doubles in game week 29, which is a really, really big thing. So he does have Palace at home in 26, West Ham away 27, Bournemouth at home, which is a great fixture in a week where there's not many players playing, which is potential captain option. Obviously Arsenal playing too, so they'll probably be everyone's go-to, but Watkins shouldn't be laughed at. And then not easy, but not the toughest, especially with how these teams are playing at the moment. So Chelsea away, which can be tough, but it's not at the moment, and then Leicester away. So Watkins has got 5 goals and 1 assist in his last 5 games, so he's absolutely on fire. And with not blanking in game week 28, he's definitely a player to consider. Another thing to note, especially, and the same with Ivan Toney too, as their teams play each other, Villa and Brentford, is they don't blank in game week 32. So this game week is likely to be a blank for the FA Cups later round, so the quarterfinals. So something to take into consideration. Both of these players don't blank, and Watkins doesn't blank in game week 28, but doubles in game week 29. Let me know below. Do you think Watkins is a good option? And we'll move on to the next player. So next up, with just over 40,000 transfers in, we have Estupiñán, Brighton wingback, coming in at 4.7 million and just over 4.4% owned. He's expected to get over 21 points over the next 4 game weeks. So with like Brentford, they have a double in the next four. So West Ham at home this game week, then they have Leeds away and Palace at home, which is a really good double game week at the moment. Then they run into Man United at home, but that game week is likely to be a blank. So Brighton do have a pretty good FA Cup game, so Stoke away. So if they win that, or if Man United beat West Ham, then that game will be a blank. And then in game week 29, another really good double game week with Brentford at home and Bournemouth away. So 2 doubles in 3 game weeks, basically. Another thing to take into consideration is it's not just the defensive capabilities of Estupiñán. He hasn't blanked since game week 19, which is incredible. And he's had 3 assists in the last 4 game weeks. So really good at attacking returns. And Brighton do look much more solid under De Zerbi, and he has got them scoring too, as you can see by the assists from their wing backs. So definitely a player to take into account of someone you need to bring in. For me, I think he's a really good option. Say if you wanted to maybe upgrade a Tarkowski or downgrade a Luke Shaw, I don't think it's the worst shout, and I do think Brighton's defence are looking much more solid. And especially with Estupiñán, so he does come off around the 60th, 70th minute mark most to some games. So there's always a chance of him coming off like he did in the last game week and banking that clean sheet and Brighton actually conceding. So definitely a great option and one that I'll be looking at to bring into my team too. Let me know below. Do you think he's a good option, or are you bringing him into your team? So now to a player that I'm sure all of us had in our teams at some point this season, with over 60,000 transfers out, is Mitrović. So he is 6.8 million and just under 20% owned. He's expected to score only, I want to say only because I'll explain that a bit further, but just under 14 points over the next 4. So there's no double for Mitrović in the next 4, which is not good, as we've seen Toney and Watkins, players around a similar price point, do double. And he is potentially going to blank in game week 28. So this is the Fulham v Leeds FA Cup game that will determine whether the Fulham v Liverpool game in game week 28 will go ahead. So if Fulham win, it won't go ahead. If Leeds win, it will go ahead. Before that, though, they have Arsenal at home and Brentford away, which are tough games. Although they do have a good game against Bournemouth in game week 29. He is flagged as well, so that's why a lot of people have been taking him out. And with them tough fixtures, it's definitely a smart move. And apart from that, his form hasn't been as great as earlier on in the season. So he's blanked. He basically hasn't scored since game week 19, which is not the best. And he's also missed a few penalties in that time frame. So for me, he's definitely a player I'd be taking out and maybe bringing in Watkins or Toney to capitalise on them double game weeks and Watkins not blanking in 28. Let me know below. If you're taking out Mitrović, who are you taking him out for? If you're sticking with him, let me know why too, because I'm not too sure. So next up, we have KDB, Kevin De Bruyne. So at 12.3 million and over 30% owned. He is only expected to score just under 13 points over the next 4 game weeks, which is not the best for that price. And he has some really tough fixtures coming up. So there's no double for him in his next 4, and he potentially will blank against West Ham in game week 28. That is if City go through the next round, FA Cup, or if West Ham go through. So West Ham do have Man United, so it's not a foregone conclusion, but City are likely to win their game. Either side of that, they have Newcastle at home in game week 26, which originally, probably a few weeks ago, would be considered a really tough fixture, especially with how solid Newcastle have been defensively. But recently, they haven't. They've conceded a few goals. They just lost in the Carabao Cup yesterday, so their confidence might be a little bit shot to bits. So maybe not the hardest game anymore. But then they do have Palace away and potential blank, then Liverpool at home. He is a lot of money, and I can see why people are taking him out. For me, it's probably the right time to take him out. If you can get in someone like you, to be honest, you probably should have taken him out last week for Mo Salah to capitalize on Salah's double. Although Salah hasn't done anything yet, he's still outscored De Bruyne and probably will outscore De Bruyne in terms of a -4. And De Bruyne is probably not someone you're going to want over the next four. For me, I'd be taking him out for a Brighton or Brentford midfielder. Although you're going to have loads of money spare, maybe you can upgrade one of your forward positions. If you don't have Haaland, if you don't have Kane, you could potentially get Kane. But yeah, definitely De Bruyne is a good player to be taken out this week. Although the money is likely to be sitting in your bank, it's good to have that to kind of deal with the upcoming blanks and doubles. But let me know below, are you taking out De Bruyne? Has he actually got you any points as well? Although he did get that goal and assist against Arsenal, I feel like he doesn't score enough, and for me, it's a waste of money at that price. But let me know below. So Eddie Nketiah is next on the list, coming in at 6.8 million, just over 12.5% owned, and is predicted to score just under 13.5 points over the next 4 game weeks. So although Arsenal don't blank in game week 28, and Arsenal do play that game against Fulham away, they don't have a double, and they've no more doubles in the next 4. He also, Nketiah did get dropped the last game or potentially rested. We don't actually know yet. So he did. Trossard, Martinelli, and Saka started up front, the front 3, whereas Nketiah was left on the bench. But we don't know yet. The game hasn't been played, the second game or game week 25, so it could just be a resting. Another thing to take into account is Gabriel Jesus is coming back very, very soon. They have said March, so whether that's the end of March, beginning of March, we don't actually know. So Nketiah's days are likely to be numbered. So definitely keep that in mind. So for me, I do have Nketiah in my team. I will be moving to Ivan Toney either this week or in game week 27 to capitalize on Toney's 2 doubles. And yeah, it's good fixtures. So I'll be dropping down to 2 Arsenal players now that their doubles are done. Having said that, they do have some really, really good fixtures coming up, although they don't double. So they have Bournemouth at home in game week 26, Fulham away in game week 27, and in a game week where a lot of teams blank, they do have Palace at home and then Leeds at home in game week 29. So 3 home games in the next 4 is really, really great. But I think Nketiah's days are numbers. I think Jesus will come right back into the team, and I think there's much better options out there in terms of Arsenal attacking assets, whether that be even Martinelli now, Saka or Odegaard. So if I was you, I'd probably give him the Bournemouth game and then take him out for Toney or Watkins. Let me know below if you have Nketiah, are you taking him out, and who you're taking him out for. Let me know below if you're bringing in or taking out any of these players. Also, if you're new around here, please make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. We'll be releasing 2 to 3 FPL videos every single week. And also, if you like this video, please make sure to give it a like. And good luck for the rest of the week.